Alright guys, so today we're going to take a look at firing, get some interaction between the invaders and the spaceship here. So we're going to start firing some bullets back and forth. So we've got our invaders moving from top to bottom, from left to right, top to bottom on our screen. So now it's time to start, we're going to work on firing our invader bullets here. Okay, so every so often here we want an invader to fire a bullet. Okay, so that's kind of the idea. So as they move down the screen, randomly bullets are going to get fired out, and that's the plan for this first lesson here. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to our Invader class, Invader.Swift, that we created earlier, and we're going to go and we're going to work with our fire bullet function here. So if you don't have this function in there, go ahead and add function fire bullet there, and then we're going to add some code to it here to get this happening. So the first thing, we're going to create a constant called bullet. Okay, we're going to set that equal to Invader bullet. Okay, which was a class we made earlier. We made that in class here. All right, we're going to set that equal to an image. All right, we're going to set that equal to the laser image that we have in our folder. And we don't want to have a sound on this right now, so we're going to go ahead and set the sound is going to be nil. Okay, so we don't want that to happen. Okay, now let's set the position of our bullet. All right, so the bullet's going to be bullet perfect.position.x. All right, that's going to equal to self.position .x. All right, the bullet y position is going to be very similar. All right, so that's going to be self. Okay, dot position dot y. But now we're going to just offset this a little bit here. So we're going to subtract it from the size height divided by 2. Okay, so that's just going to offset it there so they're not stacked up on top of each other. Okay, and then after that we need to add the bullet to our scene. So we're going to go scene. There we go, scene completed, dot add child, and we're going to add the bullet there, so we're all good to go. All right, so make sure that error goes away, which it did. All right, now we're going to go ahead and we're going to sync up our action, so we're either going to move the bullet across the screen or remove it. We want these things to happen simultaneously here, so let's go ahead and set up our code to do just that here. So we're going to go we're going to create a constant called move bullet action, so this will move the bullet across the screen, and that's going to be an SK action. All right, dot move to, so this is where we want it to move to. All right, we're going to go parenthesis, CG point, since we're setting up the point, a location. Let's set up the X first, and we'll call this self dot position. Okay, so that'll be the first part there, dot X. And then we're going to add a comma, and we're going to add our Y coordinate. It's going to be Y is going to be 0 minus the bullet, back up dot size. All right, and then from there we're going to take the height of the bullet. Okay, so we're going to subtract that. And then from there we need a duration of need my colon there, of 2.0. All right, so that's going to be the first part here. We've got that all set up. Let me see what this error is right now before we move forward here. SK action. Oh, yeah, I need the lowercase c there. Clean that up a little bit. We're good. Okay, so that's our first action. We're going to move the bullet. Now we also want to remove the bullet. You want to get to a certain point on the screen there. So remove bullet action. Okay, and then we're going to set that equal to another SK action dot remove from parent. Okay, so that's just going to take it away from its parent class. Okay, and then last but not least here, okay, we're going to go bullets. We're going to run the action. And then SK action. Again, now we're going to call a sequence here so we can do 2 actions at once. So inside this parenthesis, we're going to have an array, move bullet action, and then remove bullet action. Perfect. And let's just go all the way out and close that all off. Okay, so that's the first part here. So again, we're firing a bullet. This is going to be our function, that's our method or our function that's going to fire the bullet here. All right, and then again, it's going to pass the laser image in. Okay, and again, we created this invader bullet back in our class, so that's why these 2 names here showed up. We just have to pass in the parameters. Okay, so from here we're ready to go on. Now let's kind of invoke the fire, get something to happen here. Okay, so the next step here is we're going to go back. So we've got we're going to go to our game scene. Okay, so let's go to gamescene.swift here, and we're going to create a new method down below here that's going to be called. So we're going to go func. Back up here, and then we're going to call that invoke invader fire. Okay, and then basically this is going to be the method that's going to go ahead and fire the bullet across the screen here. Okay, so we're going to make sure we're in game scene when we're setting this thing up here. All right, so let's create a constant called fire bullet. All right, this is going to be an SK action. And then we're going to call run block on it. And we can just leave the parentheses blank inside. Okay. So this is basically, I'll explain this in a moment here, but actually, so let's just kind of keep going forward. Then we're going to call another function self.fire invader bullet. We're going to build this function in a moment, so you will get an error right now, but don't worry, just keep moving forward because you should have an error because we haven't fully declared that function yet. All right, so now the next thing we need to do, all right, is let's create a couple other constants inside our invoke invader fire function. So we got let wait to fire invader bullet. That's going to be another SK action. And then we're going to wait for 1.5 seconds here. So just kind of, we're going to create a little interval between bullets so they're not firing out, left and all the just, out of control here. And actually, let's do this. So I'm going to indent that in. Beautiful. Okay, then we're going to create an invader fire constant. And then that's going to be another SK action. We're going to call a sequence on it so we can do multiple actions at once here. So we want to both fire the bullet, so let's call that action. And we also want to, I need to make sure I do this correctly here. Put my square bracket there. And we're going to also call wait to fire the invader. Okay. So that's going to be the sequence here that now we've got two things happen. We're both going to fire a bullet and wait this, so those are going to happen simultaneously. And then we want this to happen over and over again. So we're going to go let repeat action forever. Okay, and that's going to be an SK action. And we can actually call a built-in method there, repeat action forever. And then we're going to call invader fire. So invader fire is going to be, that's going to happen throughout the game. Obviously we need that. So now let's run the action. Run action, and then we're just going to go ahead and pass in repeat action forever. Okay, so from there, okay, so we got a few things going on here. All right, so let's just get our curly brace in there to make sure we're braced up. Good. Okay, so at this point here, again, so we've invoked, this is a function that's going to invoke the fire. All right, and again, we've got an SK action, here, that's going to bring in the fire bullet and wait to fire. And then also gives us the ability for two things to happen at one time, which in games you need that to happen. Okay, so the lesson, step 3 now, is we're going to fire the invader bullet. So now we've set up the bullet, we've invoked it, so now let's actually go ahead and fire it here. Okay, so right below invoke invader fire, let's go ahead and do that. So we're going to create another function called fire invader bullet. Okay, and then let's create a let random invader. Okay, and then this is going to be invaders who can fire. Again, we can bring that in because we're passing these things all along here. And then random element. Now this is going to be a method we're going to build in a moment, so it's going to give us an error right now. Okay. All right, so you see this one just went away because we created our function, but now, again, we'll get to that in a moment, so no worries. Okay, and then last thing here is we're just going to say, hey, random invader, so it doesn't matter which one you are. Okay, random invader, go ahead and fire bullets. All right, we're all set here. Okay, so we'll come back and take care of that error or that mistake in a moment here, but what we're doing here is we're calling a fire bullet method. So randomly the invaders will shoot these out. Okay, so then the next thing we need to do, step 4 out of this whole process here, is we need to implement this random element method. Okay, because we need that to get rid of the error we have. So we're going to create a new file now. All right, but before we just click on next, we want to make sure that we're iOS. Okay, iOS, we're source, and we're using a Swift file this time. Okay, iOS source Swift file. Go ahead and click on next from that point. Okay, and then we're going to call this one utilities. Because this is going to kind of serve a couple purposes here. So click on create, and then screen check, make sure it says import foundation at the top. We absolutely have to have that. So what we're going to do is we're going to extend an array here. So we're going to type in extension array. Okay, so that's going to be an extension of an array class that we're going to build. So let's create our function random element. Okay, and then we're going to pass it. Now we're going to return a value of it here, and we're just going to use t as our placeholder. All right, and then let's create our index. Let index is equal to an integer, so we got to cast it as that. It's not going to convert it, so we have to say int. Then we're going to look for arc4 random. Okay, and actually we can use this one right here, arc4 random uniform. So what this does here is this returns a random number between 0 and whatever number we pass in. Okay, so we're going to hit enter on that one. All right, and then we'll put self.count, because that number will just kind of randomly be based off of where the game's at. All right, so from here we got to go return, and we're just going to return the index, all right, because that's what we set as the return type when we put the T right here, so that should be a review. All right, so return on that. Okay, so let's just build this here to kind of get rid of some of our mistakes. Where are we at here? So plenty of errors at the moment here. So let's see here. I'm going to throw a space in here. Okay, and then actually I see what we got. We're missing one parenthesis right there. So let's let that build. Okay, actually I'm going to bring this back a touch. Build it once more. Check it out. All right. Should be good here, but let's just, before we move on, make sure we are out of mistakes for the moment here. Okay, we're good to go. All right, so last thing we need to do, all right, so now that we've built our array extension here, we're going to go back to our game scene. All right, so we're going to go back to the game scene file where everything's at. And now we need to go to our did move to view function at the top. Okay, so where's that at here? Oh, there it is. Okay, so we've got a few things going up. Now we've got set up invaders. Okay, and now from here, actually I still need to pass my set up players one here. Actually, we'll come back to that one in a moment here, but that's fine. So we just need to do one more thing here. We're going to pass invoke Invader fire. Okay, so we're going to pass that one through to it. So at this point now, our invaders are shooting stuff, as we go. So I'm going to go ahead and stop the video at this point here. Obviously, go back if things aren't, if you're having any errors here, go back, or again, I'll be around in class here to help out as well. But at this point, we've got our invader fires going. So the next step in our next video will be the player firing bullets. So good job following along here, and then we'll see you in the next video.